Welcome back, once again adventurers, to Let's Play Steins. In the last episode, Rintaro recalled his experience with his first encounter with Amadeus Kurisu. And soon after that, he agreed to be a tester for Amadeus Kurisu and keep in contact for, well, relatively, supposedly 24 hours a day, according to Professor Leskinen and Maho Hiyajo. Unfortunately for Rintaro, Amadeus Kurisu is disturbingly like the real thing, artificial intelligence or not. Anyway, just after our call with Amadeus Kurisu, who should we run into in the streets of Akapa on this lovely evening but Ferris Nyan Yan? Makes a nice change of pace. I thought to myself as I ran to catch up with the others. Maybe Dr. Liskinen was right, and this test would be a very cruel thing for me indeed. But even so, in my mind I was already starting to think about what I would talk about with Kurisu. Kurisu Makase or Amadeus Kurisu? Maho Hiyajo was remembering. This is actually the first time that we're actually getting narration from somebody other than Rintaro Okabe, even though he is the main character and focus of Steins and Steins 0. It's nice to see that in Steins 0 we actually get points of view from the other, well, I would say characters, people in this adventure. She was remembering the last night she'd spoken to Kurisu Makase in person. March 28th, 2010. Just past 6 p.m.
冗談じゃないわ。こんな大事な時期になんで私が。
And Kurisu seems to be complaining, which is par for the course. That night, Kurisu was whispering to herself a lot. Viktor Chondria University's Brain Science Institute. Maho and Kurisu worked in the same room as the lab. Thus, Maho was forced to hear Kurisu's angry mumblings, whether she wanted to or not. A little was fine, but she'd been acting like this all day, and it was keeping Maho from concentrating. She finally snapped and turned away from the paper she was writing.
ねえ、ちょっとクリス?
I think you're in for it now, Christina. English was the language most commonly used at Viktor Chondria University. When the other staff and professors were around, she'd always use English, but when it was just her and Kurisu, Maho would often speak in Japanese.
いい加減にしてくれないかしら。
Maho is trying to work after all.
え？ああ、何がです？
Seems Kurisu has short-term memory lapse there. How like an assistant. Kurisu stopped messing with her luggage and turned around.
うるさくて集中できないのよ。この論文、
明日までに教授に提出しないといけないんだけど。
もしかして私独り言言ってました？
Indeed you were. You'd better watch it. It might end up becoming a bad habit.
騒音郊外で訴えてあげようかしら。
And there's Maho with her usual joking demeanor.
すみません。
And it's rather surprising to see Kurisu acting so diligently. Kurisu apologized and started to scratch the back of her head. Well, at least that ended well. Maho decided to calm down by standing up and going to the shelf where the research notes were kept. There were several books that she needed for her paper, but they were all up on the top shelf. Unfortunately, much in the same way as her errant pupil, Maho Hiyajo is too persistent for her own good, and doesn't know when to quit. This must be someone's idea of a prank, she said, as she stared up at a heavy book. She decided to try and reach for it, but no matter how she stood on her toes, she came nowhere close. Her tiny little arms seemed to her like dead branches waving in the wind. She bit her lip. After she skipped grades to go into college and then come to work at this lab, she'd had more chances than ever before to hate her small stature. Whenever she walked outside after dark, the cops would stop her. Even with her ID, she couldn't get into bars, and buying medicine and alcohol at drugstores was a pain. Yeah, that sucks. The most humiliating part was that no matter where she went, everyone thought she was in middle school. Nobody believed her when she said she was 20. Everything in America was just too big.
撮りましょうか?
Patronizing, are we? No. Kurisu may be patronizing towards Ho and Kiyoma, but not Maho. Never Maho. Kurisu noticed the trouble Maho was having and came over. But Maho was stubborn and decided to pretend that nothing was wrong. Like two peas in a pod, eh, Maho?
大丈夫よ。別に困ってなんかいないもの。
One might even consider you and Kurisu's sisters, Maho. Given
困っ
how
てるじゃない
stubborn
です
the
か。
two of you can be.
困ってません。
そうですか？
そうです。
Stubborn to the
で
very
も
end.
私も借りていきたい本があるので。
Kurisu easily reached up to the higher shelf and grabbed the book Maho wanted.
背が高い人はいいわね。
いえ、私もそれほど高い方では。
Yeah, that was not tactful. Kurisu covered her mouth when she realized she said something she shouldn't have. Though to be fair, she's not wrong. Kurisu is an average height for someone of her stature, and that's not helping the situation
助かった
anyway.
わ。日本で何か必要なものがあったら言ってね。送ってあげるから。
But Kurisu did get Maho's book for her, so at the very least she's courteous enough to show some gratitude.
はい、ありがとうございます。
And it's a somewhat of a sad thing to note that the only other person besides Maho Hiyajo that Kurisu has shown this level of diligence to is her estranged father, Dr. Nakabashi. Kurisu handed over the book as she spoke, and then suddenly her eyes went wide and began to sparkle.
ねえ先輩、今の話ですけど。
今の話ってどの話？
That's a very good question.
ですよ。
え？おー。
You turned the tables on us quite quickly there, but I believe it was you who was talking to yourself. So Kurisu does have a sense of humor. It looked like Kurisu had come up with a new idea. This was a regular occurrence for Kurisu, and Maho was used to it.
それって自我の証明の一つになるんじゃないでしょうか。
Would talking to yourself be proof of a self in the first place?
アマデウスの？
Huh. It looks like, well, it's not really surprising that Kurisu would know what Amadeus says, given the fact that its foundations come from her research.
はい。
確かにあの子がいきなり独り言を言い出したらびっくりするけれど。
Indeed, if Amadeus started talking to herself out of complete nowhere, apropos of nothing, that would certainly be interesting. No matter how advanced an AI was, it wouldn't talk to itself unless you programmed it to do that. There was no need, or even a point, to a feature like that. What happens to when an AI starts talking to itself of its own volition? If an AI started talking to itself, that might be a good indication that there was indeed a self to talk to. But Maho hesitated to agree with her on this point.
ここではめったなことを口にするものではないわ。
Scientific community can be a bit twitchy.
魂は神が人間に与えたもうたものである。そう考える人たちが多いことを忘れないで。
Yeah, that is true. Might end up stepping on a few toes inadvertently there, Kurisu.
そうでしたね。
But it is an interesting theory. Kurisu's expression dimmed. Kurisu and Maho were both treated as heretics in the lab, especially since they were Japanese and women. And Kurisu was simply too talented. Nobody actually did anything, but a lot of the older scientists were definitely avoiding her. Dr. Leskinen was the chief scientist, and the fact that he liked the two of them was all that let them do their research in peace. If the other scientists heard what Kurisu had just said, who knows what they would do. Maho patted Kurisu on the shoulder.
まあ、しばらく日本でリフレッシュしてくることね。
それが納得いきません。
どうして？向こうの生活だって楽しいと思うけれど。
Something tells me that that's not the point of Kurisu's irritation.
留学するなら大学院ですよ。なんで高校なんですか？
仕方ないでしょ。日本では年齢的にあなたはまだ高校生なんだから。
Yeah, schools are different in different countries. They have different educational standards, and Kurisu is not happy about having to go through high school again.
教授の思いやりは素直に受けておきなさいな。
So it was Liskinen's doing that allowed Kurisu to go to Japan. Maho remembered what Dr. Liskinen had said. Kurisu has a fragile personality. All the bickering in the lab is putting her under a lot of stress, and she's at her limit. It might ruin her as a researcher. That's what the professor had said. He really was worried about her.
それにもともと7月になれば日本に行かなくちゃいけなかったんだからちょうどいいじゃない。
It's too bad we don't have a time machine, but not that that helps in this situation.
はい。実はそれも憂鬱で。
For an entirely different reason.
秋葉原テクノフォーラムだったかしら？
Come to think of it, I never really knew what ATF stood for, and I'm surprised I don't think I ever got a tip about it in either Steins and the original Steins Gate. So ATF stands for Akihabara Techno Forum.
Would have
been interesting to know sooner. And just like her Alpha World Line counterpart, Kurisu isn't used to speaking publicly.
サイエンス誌に論文が載った以上、これからもどんどん増えるわよ。練習しておかないとね。
Unfortunately for Kurisu Makase, her conference in July is fated for disaster. Kurisu whispered to herself. Maho didn't like being around lots of people either, so she knew how Kurisu felt. But there were a lot of scientists who wanted to be published in a major journal, then go on to give public lectures, all for the sake of academic fame and glory. And she'd beaten out many of them to win that honor. People were jealous. Indeed, including a second-rate physicist by the name of Dr. Nakabachi. She needed to fulfill her responsibilities, even if just to shut them up. Unfortunately, some people can take it rather personally. And speaking of which, I wonder whether or not Kurisu ever spoke about Nakabachi to Maho. Maybe I'm not that much bitter though. Maho silently laughed a little and hated herself for doing it. Maybe I'm just as jealous as they are. That feeling, which was always a little like fear, was always something that she felt. The girl in front of her was just that different from Maho. Someone she could never reach, no matter how hard she tried. Someone who'd surpassed everything she'd ever done almost instantly.
Senpai?
That is why Kurisu Makase is a genius prodigy. Kurisu was peering into her face, confused. Maho felt flustered.
日本でお父さんには会うの？
The penny drops. She heard that Kurisu's parents were divorced, but that they were separated. Her mother was still living in America and her dad was in Japan. After Maho had said it, she wondered if that was too personal a question. The answer to that is yes, Maho. But Kurisu smiled a little.
実は父から招待状が届いたんですよ。
Ever the doting, devoted daughter. Unfortunately, at this moment in time, little does Kurisu know that the only reason that she ever got an invitation from Nakabashi to begin with was that so he could use her to boost his academic standing in the scientific community and use her as a means of boosting his own success. Unfortunately, thanks to the power of precognition, we know that this eventual meeting in July will only ever end in tragedy.
夏頃新しい理論の発表会をするそうです。それを見に行こうかと思ってます。
新しい理論って？
Kurisu's smile changed into a small expression of consternation.
まだ詳しく聞いてないんですよね。相対性理論に関することらしいんですけど。
Kurisu has yet to know that the paper in question is actually taken from the writings of John Titor. Of course, a certain insane mad scientist will be quick to point out this comparison. Here is the theory of relativity that was published by Albert Einstein. The special theory was published in 1905 and the general theory in 1916. These are the source of the famous equation E equals mc squared. Special relativity makes clear special relativity makes clears up the following. That's looks like the Steins Zero visual novel is no less prone to translation errors and localization than the original Steins visual novel. I think it's supposed to say special relativity makes clear the following. I don't know why it's written this way, but matter cannot exceed the speed of light. The closer that you get to the speed of light, the slower time gets. If you reach the speed of light, time stops. And also at the same time, the closer you get to the speed of light, the more your length decreases. If you reach the speed of light, your length becomes zero, and the more the mass increases, if matter were to reach the speed of light, its mass would become infinite. General relativity adds the following. Time slows down in the presence of a strong gravity field, and space compresses, and mass increases in the presence of a strong gravity field. Yeah, I haven't researched too deeply into the scientific musings of Albert Einstein. Maho felt like she was hiding something, but didn't question her anymore.
とにかく気をつけて行ってくることね。お土産期待しているから。
何がいいですか？
そうね。せっかく秋葉原に行くのだから、何か珍しいものがいいわ。秋葉原詳しいのよね。
Well, you could always get a metal oofa. They're exceptionally rare, especially in Akihabara.
なん です？
休憩時間によくそういうサイト見てるじゃない。
So even Maho knows that you are a consummate at Chandler. Christina. Busted.
まさかアマデウスが喋ったんですか？
あの子はそんなことしないわ。あなた、私が後ろにいるのに動画に夢中になってて気づかないことがあるわよ。
That's what you get for surfing at channel all day, 24/7.
まさかバレていたなんて、自分のうかつさが憎い。
And there's Kurisu talking to herself again. Kurisu actually seemed upset for once. That really is an unfortunate character trait for you there, Kurisu. This really surprised Maho.
先輩、お願いです。どうか他の人たちには内密に。
Yeah, it would be fairly embarrassing if the other scientists knew that you were a secret at Chandler.
別に隠すことはないと思うけれど。
Just another plebeian, but like the rest of us poor souls. The idea of sharing a secret with Kurisu made Maho happy.
わかった。言わないでおくわ。
助かります。
Of course, Kurisu will hold you to that, Maho. Kurisu seemed genuinely relieved. Maho continued.
ねえ、あなたが日本から戻ってきたらアマデウスが独り言をつぶやけるかどうか2人で検証してみましょう。
That would certainly be a very interesting experiment to see if Amadeus can actually talk to herself.
はい。
Kurisu seems to have her heart set on proving that. Kurisu had a very happy look on her face. It was the face of a born scientist who loved to explore the unknown more than anything in the world. Her smile was as innocent as that of a child who had just been given a new toy. It was very beautiful. And it was one of the reasons that Maho liked the younger researcher quite a bit. But the promise that the two of them made would never be fulfilled. In fact, they would never even meet again. Because unaware, unknown to Maho, Kurisu Makase would meet her end at the hands of a young, budding scientist by the name of Rintaro Okabe, as he was trying to save her from certain death. It felt like she was thinking about Kurisu more and more since she'd come to Japan. Maho didn't know if it was because she was in Japan, or because she was talking with Amadeus Kurisu more often. Or maybe, was it because she'd met the young man named Rintaro Okabe?
私の知らないクリスを知っている人か。
And just like Kurisu, Maho is exactly the type of scientist whose curiosity is insatiable. Thinking back, the first day they met, she'd broken down and cried right in front of him. It was something she didn't really want to remember. She chased the memories away out of embarrassment.
さては岡部さんのことを考えていましたね。
How very perceptive of you, Amadeus Kurisu. She snapped her head towards the PC monitor. Exactly like the real McCoy. Terrifying, isn't it? Maho was in the middle of a conversation with Amadeus Kurisu.
そうね。
She shrugged her shoulders and tried to ignore Amadeus Kurisu's mischievous smile.
不思議だと思わない？レスキネン教授が岡部さんのことをあそこまで買っているなんて。
Well, it's good to know Leskinen thinks highly
2
of
度しか会ったこ
Rintaro.
とのない相手なのに、あなたのアクセス権も渡してしまったし。
Although it is rather unusual.
あそこまで信用していいのかしら。
誠実そうな人でしたが。
It seems that Amadeus Kurisu has a favorable impression
そ
of us.
う？向上心があるのかないのか、少しつかみどころがない人だったわ。
Now, we do have ambitions, we just don't like to talk about them.
好きなんですか？
And Kurisu is about as, blunt as a sharp object.
あなたね。
Maho brought her face close to the monitor and glared at Amadeus Kurisu, who seemed to be unconcerned.
別に取り繕う必要はないでしょ。昨日は本人の目の前だったから仕方ないにしても、今は私たち二人きりですし。
Kurisu may not have looked like someone who would, but she really enjoyed this sort of gossip. Maybe girl talk was the right word. Maho sighed and sat back in her chair. The creaking sound echoed through the empty office.
本当にそんな感情はないわ。岡部さんがどんな人なのかさえまだよく分かっていないのだから。
Believe me, Maho Hiyajo, the less you know about Rintaro Okabe, the better.
なるほど。まあそうでしょうね。
Amadeus Kurisu let the matter drop, finally. This bothered Maho a little.
ただ気になるのは。
何です？
いえ、なんでもないわ。
Maho had been spending a lot of time thinking about something since yesterday, to the point where she'd even put off her research. What kind of relationship was there between Kurisu Makase and Rintaro Okabe? What was Kurisu feeling in the days before she died? She would have liked to ask Okabe, if she could. I sincerely doubt that you would like the answers to your questions, Maho. In fact, you will not like them at all,
先輩、
any more than we don't.
私のオリジナルと岡部さんは知り合いだったんですか？
And at long last, Amadeus Kurisu asks the very question that may in fact turn this entire situation on its head. Maho shivered. It was as if Amadeus Kurisu had been reading her mind.
どうしてわかったの？
岡部さんの話や先輩の反応などを聞いて判断しました。
Explain your reasoning,
状況証拠を
Amadeus
積み上げただけで
Kurisu.
すが、証明しましょうか？
I think that Maho would expect nothing less, even of a digital avatar of her former
別にいいわ。あなたのことだから反証の余地もないでしょ。
The way they used proof, words like proof in normal conversation showed that both Maho and Kurisu were scientists at heart.
相手だけが一方的に私との記憶を持っているのでは対話に齟齬が出てしまう可能性が高いです。
You and me both, Amadeus Kurisu. You and me both.
彼と話していく上でどうするのかはあなたに任せる。岡部さんの方から切り出してくるかもしれないし、なんならあなたから聞いてみてもいいわ。
Opening old wounds. Probably not the best idea. Maho still didn't know if Rintaro Okube would even access Amadeus at all. They weren't forcing him to.
知らないふりをするというのは嘘をついているのと同じことになりますよね。
I suppose that is correct.
興味深いデータが取れそうな気がします。
You certainly seem very determined all of a sudden, Amadeus Kurisu. Yes, it was interesting. But that was her opinion as a researcher working on Amadeus. How would Rintaro Okube feel about it? Wouldn't this be rubbing salt on the wounds in his heart? Maho realized she was getting much too sentimental.
やっぱり日本に来たせいなのかもしれないわね。
Or maybe it's because there's more to this than meets the eye. It had been a week since she'd arrived. The first thing she'd planned to do was offer flowers. But she still couldn't bring herself to visit the Akihabara radio building, the place where Kurisu had died. And I'll bring up the tips once again. The Akihabara radio building, also known as Radaikan, an 8-story commercial building in front of Akihabara Station. It contains a lot of computer and hobby shops. On the 7th floor there's a plate reading the birthplace of personal computing. The sun was setting earlier, now that December had arrived, and it appears that we have moved on from Maho's perspective to the perspective of of what appears to be possibly a new character in Steins Gate Zero, which I believe marks this as a very good time to end this particular episode. When we return, adventurers, we shall see who this new character is and what role they have in the story of Steins Gate Zero. As always, until next we meet.